man's world without a woman by his side. And so I will wait until that moment you decide that I'm your man and you're my girl, that I'm the sea and you're the pearl. It takes two, baby, it takes two. A king ain't a king without the power behind the throne. A prince is a power made without a chick to.
I'm walking through Modern Masters, and it starts out with a quote by Jackson Pollock that said, "Each age finds its own technique." And so I was walking through and falling in love with what the Impressionists were doing, what the Cubists were doing, what the later artists were doing, being inspired by this century of people, really finding their creative voice, finding new creative directions. And that happened to be the first day I saw the Scholastic show. And it actually gave me goosebumps to walk downstairs and see the show and realize that here is the next generation finding their voice, tapping into their creative passion, that it is all of a continuum, and that I was so glad that we had Modern Masters over in that building and that we had the Scholastic winners here in this building. So to the student artists, I applaud you for your phenomenal work, and I encourage you to sort of keep on the path you're on. For the teachers in this group, I thank you not only for what you do for the students, but actually what you're really doing for all of us long term. Truly, truly phenomenal. Next up is a group of students who are going to get to be part of what we call our Artist Encounter program. Every year, the Art Museum features contemporary artists in residency up in our American Indian Artist in Residence studio. And our current artist in residence is Rose Simpson, an absolutely brilliant ceramicist. And in looking at students who would have the opportunity to work with Rose, we looked for students who showed superb skill in ceramics for obvious reasons, and also really fine creative execution of their craft.
It's interesting that we have it because really the artist works.
These three pieces are Explorer, Warrior, and Nurturer. And they're a balance of energy that I sort of build within myself as a healing technique. And they all have different ways of making me a stronger and healthier person. Explorer is entering into that space, the unknown space, and the hair on the back of its neck is standing up on end, And Warrior, the first standing piece, is she's not carrying any weapons, although you might say that some of those parts could be used as weapons, but they're more power objects, and part of it is it is what you make it. So when we take an object, when we take the clay, when we take our anything, you pick up a stone on the ground, as soon as you love that stone, as soon as you say, this stone is important in my life, it then becomes important in your life, and it becomes a powerful thing for you to carry in your pocket and support you. They're all hollow. They're built like pinch pots. So I actually, some of it is smaller coils, and I also have this way that I make a big old fat coil. So I take like half a bag of clay, and then I chunk it up really nice and fat, and then I have a concrete floor, and I throw it between my legs on the floor, and then I flip it over and throw it down again until it's about anywhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. And then that makes me a coil, but it's more of a slab. It's a fat, slab, and then I can build a little faster when I have 3 to 4 inches instead of, 1 inch. You know what I'm saying? I built them with this thing called slab technique that I came up with, and it was there's this artist named Jean-Pierre Leroux in Canada, and the way he builds his stuff is he gets a solid chunk of clay and he just throws the clay at it, and he does these busts and these amazing horses and architectural elements they're so raw because the clay's just thrown at it. And I grew up at Santa Clara Pueblo, and almost a huge percentage of my family are potters, right? And the whole idea of it is to make something super perfect, right? So it's like how shiny can you make it, and how perfect is it? And so I spent a long time trying to make my pieces, and you know, you build your piece, and then you spend a week and a half trying to smooth it off and make it right. You know what I mean? So when I got to grad school, I was like, I don't really care about what people want it to look like. This goes back to the model thing and the glaze thing. It's like what people want something to look like rather than accepting it for what it is and its honest truth. I started just taking really super thin, like 1/8 of an inch thick pieces of clay slab and tearing it and starting to form these faces and these heads out of it. And I loved what came out of it because I couldn't control it in the way that, you know, once it's to a certain point, you can't do anything with it because the clay is so thin, it dries so fast, and if you try and like mess with it for longer, you're just setting up yourself for a disaster. So what it did was it sort of makes you be okay with what it innately is in its process. Wait, I want to send you guys home with power objects that you guys make and put your intention into. And there's stuff here. I have more tools, but I put out some stuff. I just like to bind things. I like to tie, and the energy of tying things together is like this, like combining energies and making something more powerful. So there's clay objects, there's leather pieces, and you know, something even that you can put in your pocket or take with you or have in a special place that will remind you of your aesthetic involvement in the world. Or whatever you want it to remind you to do your own work.
Ocean of the ocean or the ring from above. You can try to stop the paradise when you're dreaming up, but you cannot stop the rhythm once your heart's in love to stay. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat.